The other day, I got into an argument with Matt Walsh to prove it. And I quote, "If you're sick, you need to come."
Really? This is some shamelessness. This is some shamelessness. How do you want hard, medium, or soft? And I'm like, Jesus, you look like you're gonna fall apart. And I'll be like, I guess medium. This is gonna trigger the of some of you. Sorry if I come across as out of touch. You always hear people say this. I know a plumber. Plumbers make like 6 figures. Oh, electricians make like 6 figures. Oh, carpenters, these people make 6 figures. Okay, that is a lie. What the people... Good friend of the stream. Why young people won't work. Uh-oh. Defense of millennials and Gen Z.
The other day, I got into an argument with Matt Walsh, who you all know I love and appreciate, but we had a healthy disagreement. Something I discovered was not, in fact, impossible to do on Twitter.com. Maybe Elon really is making the platform better after all. Our disagreement was sparked over a leaked message of an Olive Garden middle manager blowing up at her staff, ranting that she was sick to the back teeth of them calling up to take time off from work, and that from now on, if they're going to call off work for a dead dog or something, they better be willing to bring its corpse in to prove it. And I quote, "If you're sick, you need to come prove it to us. If your dog died, you need to bring him in and prove it to us. If it's a family emergency and you can't say, too bad, go work somewhere else." Now, I, along with many others, found this rant to be a little psychotic, whereas Matt Walsh said, "I am on the
This would help me too, to even keep me out of trouble. You should only be able to talk about some things if you at the very least have talked to somebody, okay, that works there, all right? Listen, I've been on both ends, or with all 3 ends, okay? Customer, supervisor, employee. People that work service jobs call out for bullshit-ass reasons all the time, okay? I don't think even service workers would deny that. There are so many dead dogs, so many random sicknesses, so many, my mom is pregnant, so many random excuses. Like, bro, if you want to like FMLA this, if you want to do some shit, I need some proof, okay? Because you, nothing is more annoying than people that are like scheduled to work like 2 days a week and they call out half of them. The problem is that I'm generalizing a lot here, okay? Just as a heads up. But I think one of the problems is that when you are when you employ a lot of young people don't work for survival. Young people work for like expendable cash to like buy shoes and cell phones with. Like, it's just like random shit. So you'll wind up in this weird area where if you need to work, it's good for you because like you'll be working and like young people, they'll be working for 2 hours and they'll be like, "Oh, can you cut me? Like, am I good to go home? Like, can you?" It's like, bro, you spent like 30 minutes, drove here, got ready, you're working. Why do you want to be cut after 2 hours? Why the f are you even here? Do you need money? And so like if you're an older person, you're trying to like make money or you've got like bills, like it's good for you because they'll always like beg to be cut. But like, yeah, these motherfuckers get scheduled to work like 2 or 3 nights of the week and then they'll call out like twice a month. And it's like, when I say young people, I'm talking about people that are like 16 to 22. Because some kids will work a part-time job in college, but they don't really need the money. They don't care that much. It's just for like some spending money on the weekends. But yeah. I'm talking like 16 to like 22-year-olds, like basically high school, college age kids.
Managers.
I never saw an older person do this. This was always younger people. This was always 25 and younger. This wasn't like 45-year-old people wouldn't be doing this shit.
Trying to run a business and dealing with a bunch of lazy whiners who refuse to put in even the most minimal effort, people are fed up with it, and they should be. Now, I could meme all over this, but I like Matt, and I also realize there are a lot of people who feel the same way as him. It is incredibly difficult to...
Who is she talking to? She's supposed to be talking to the camera. I feel like she's talking to somebody else.
Find young staff today who can actually fulfill basic jobs and show up consistently. I've had friends who have worked in management, I've had employees, and I've worked in both restaurant and retail myself. I understand why a manager in a situation like this would be pissed off, but not this particular manager. I mean, you're fired if you have a family emergency and don't want to get into the details. I'm sorry, but if I have a family emergency, Olive Garden is not going to be my primary concern. The manager also stated...
Well, to be clear, what the manager is hinting at is that there probably isn't a family emergency. That's the point, I think, right? Is that people are just calling out for bullshit reasons and making it up, right?
She came in after totaling her car and on days that she was sick, implying other people should probably do this too. No, No, there's no way I'm doing that. In fact, I'm pretty sure working a restaurant job while sick violates health policies. The level of loyalty this manager demands for a minimum wage job at Olive Garden, it's like she thinks she's running a damn Navy SEAL unit.
Also, wait, hold on. Does Olive Garden pay minimum wage anymore? How many of these places actually pay minimum wage? I don't know if I believe that Olive Garden servers are making minimum wage. I'm not sure if I believe that. I don't know if isn't that a tipped restaurant? I don't think I believe that one.
I only have one rule. Everyone fights, no one quits. If you don't do your job, I'll shoot you.
That is simply an unhinged position she has. If you're offering a minimum wage job, you are going to get minimum wage commitment. It's that simple. Now, I'm not going full commie on you here. People obviously should adhere to a minimum standard when it comes to work. Coming in on time, not calling out at the last minute, doing the job in such a way that you aren't an active liability. This is all fair to expect. But if you want an employee to be more than just not a liability, if you want them to be an asset, then you've got to offer them a reason to be that. And no, unless it's higher than minimum wage, their paycheck won't do it. Because most companies offer crappy wages, so young people have no reason to be loyal to yours. In our back and forth, Matt disagreed with a lot of my points, kind of stating that it doesn't necessarily matter whether or not...
Wait, really? Hold on. In Wisconsin, it's $50 an hour plus tips for waiter, and you share tips with cooks? Are there restaurants out there where you tip out the cooks? That shit. Those goblins can stay in back of house forever. You don't get any of my tips.
Not people are happy with their work. They have to work to live. And fine. But working to live does not mean working at Olive Garden. And if Olive Garden wants good employees, it's gonna need a better pitch than just enlist, work, die. The breadsticks demand your sacrifice. So let's get back to that idea of loyalty. Why are...
Also, here's a couple things, okay? So I noticed this is happening in Miami. I don't know if this happens in the rest of the world yet, okay? And if Miami's just ahead of the curve. But like, one, okay. If you're gonna do included gratuity on every single check, just charge me more for the food. At that point, like, what's the difference? Because I've noticed in Miami, this is like a thing, or at least in Miami Beach, and in Brickell, it feels like, and I'm not saying that it's just for big parties, even for two people, me and Molino go, and gratuity is included on the check. If you're gonna include gratuity in the check, just charge me more for the food. At that point, you're basically billing me anyway. You think I'm gonna go up to the server and be like, oh no, take that tip off? I don't even know if you can actually. That's stupid. That's dumb as okay? Just mark everything on the menu up, 20%. Bullshit, that included gratuity, that's bullshit. Number one. Number two, okay, this is a scam for me because I'll max tip wherever I go. I'll always push the biggest button because I've got money and they probably need it more than that I do, so I share, that's fine, okay? But I am at my limit that every single POS, every single point of sale screen now, or with the tablets that you turn on for customers, ask you to tip. When it's just like a person who's like sitting there. And it's like, I'm almost half expecting to be at the gas station now. We're like, oh, here's a candy bar. And it's like, okay. And then you fill out the thing and it's like, do you want a tip? And it's like, for what? What the fuck? Why does every single point of sales like ask for tips now when the person just sits there and don't do anything? Or like someone give me like a fountain drink. And it's like, I don't know. That just seems wild to me. And it's always in these like bougie little fucking like ice cream shops and bullshit too. Like if anybody, my McDonald's roots are coming out, if anybody deserves tips, it's fast food workers, okay? Not these working in these little bodega ice cream shops or whatever. That's bullshit, okay? I don't know, dude. There's a lot of weird tip shit. It's like, it feels like I'm getting nickel and dime like a motherfucker. I experienced this for once, and actually, everything I'm saying is not even true. You should nickel and dime people because you guys are idiots and you want to be nickel and dime. You guys love it. I think Target tried to, there was some CEO of Target that tried to get rid of the forever sales because they're like, this is dumb, we're just gonna be honest to our customers, and you all hated it. You're like, no, lie to me, lie to me, lie to me. I think JetBlue, I think, was the last airline experience that I was on where it's like free Wi-Fi on the planes, like it's all included and shit. And I think the planes are like a bit more expensive, like the tickets are, but you don't get like nickel and dimed on everything. And I'm like, you know what? hey, dude, hell yeah, I love that shit. Oh, that was JCPenney, not Target. But yeah, I don't know, like the little like charge here, charge there, tip here. Like, do you want to tip like 7%? Or, oh, and then here's another thing that places do in Miami. I don't know if this is only a Miami thing or this happening anywhere else. This is the most shameless. People will come to your table and they'll give you the check, and the gratuity options will be like 1%, like 3%, 5%. And it's like, oh, I guess the gratuity is really cheap. But the reason why the ticket things say that is because gratuity is included, but then it's asking for an extra gratuity on top of it. And I'm like, really? This is some shamelessness. This is some shamelessness.
Are people loyal?
Wait, hold on. Let me use this real quick. 1 sec. Jesus. If my internet dies while I'm gone, I love you all very much. Hold on 1 sec. Say you go to a massage, they're digging their elbows into your back, they finish, do you tip the massager? Oh, I don't know. Dude, I ask people to go super medium now. Anytime, you'll find these old, frail, like 75-year-old Korean ladies, and she'll be like, well, how do you want hard, medium, or soft? And I'm like, Jesus, you look like you're gonna fall apart. And I'll be like, I guess medium. And they like have the like force of God in their hands. And I feel like I'm getting like Bruce Lee to my back. And then you've got this lady on you that's like 80 years old, and it's like, I feel like if I ask for them to be softer, I'm gonna be a pussy. So you just sit there and like, you have to shift modes to where, oh, the enjoyment is just when she stops massaging an area so it no longer hurts. Me, Jesus, be careful for those ones. They're wild out there. Hold on 1 second, be back. Should you tip if there's already a hefty service fee like in California? I don't even know what the service fee goes towards. That's another thing too. Like having like 15 different like little nickel and dime fees, like the service fee, delivery fee, online fee, like all the like, ugh. Okay. Do you tip Starbucks employees? Yeah, I usually tip everybody because I feel guilty.
Because they believe that the person or institution they are loyal to both deserves it and would be loyal to them in return. Can we honestly say both requirements are met by most jobs today? I don't think so. And this is perhaps the key to understanding the misconceptions about our Gen Z and millennial workforce today, which I will jump into right after a huge thank you to this video's sponsor, the Epic Times. Epic TV is a censorship-free video platform with original news programs and documentaries investigating critical issues not covered anywhere else. What can you get with your Epic TV subscription? You can tune in to new programs every day from Crossroads, The Larry Elder Show, Facts Matter, and American Thought Leaders, all reporting on factual events that you will not find in major news outlets. And my favorite part of Epic TV? Their award-winning documentaries, bringing you first-hand interviews and on-the-ground footage of the most critical matters in society affecting our liberties, health, and safety. One of their must-watch documentaries just released is The Final War, investigating the reality of the Chinese Communist Party's war against America. If you want to see this and so much more in the realm of honest and accurate news, please check them out today. Plus, I've got a special offer for my viewers. Just sign up and start watching. No credit card required, no strings attached. And if you decide to subscribe within 14 days, it's just $1.
What is this fucking cringe shit? Bro, are you okay? Well, actually, I was gonna say you're fighting with a 14-year-old, but how old is Greta now? Maybe she's like 20, I don't know.
Release some greenhouse gases. I'm obviously a stranger to online controversy. It's not something I often do. But now, the mainstream press is commenting on the fact that I was informing Greta that my very extensive car collection with internal combustion engines, which run on dead dinosaurs, have an enormous emission profile. And she replied by telling me her own email address. Greta's email address is, I have small dick energy. Why would that be your own email address, Greta? Strange. I mean, also, I don't want to assume her gender. It's 50-50, but it is what it is. I'm not actually mad at Greta. Please bring me pizza and make sure that these boxes are not recycled. Thank you. So I'm not actually mad at Greta, right? Because she doesn't realize she's been programmed. She doesn't realize she's a slave of the Matrix. She thinks she's doing good. Someone has sat her down and convinced her to try and convince you to beg your government to tax you into poverty to stop the sun from being hot. I called her out on it, the Global Matrix got this bot farm to like and retweet and all this bot commenting to try and pretend that her telling me that she has a small dick in her own email address somehow teaches me a lesson. Welcome to a new episode of The Clown Show. But now I know, at least, that Greta, with her little hate-filled face, bitter, sitting somewhere without the heating on, in the cold, little hat, shivering, views my tweets, which is going to make my Twitter account far more fun into eternity.
Wow. So I was saying to me how our front of house servers would make like $28, $35 an hour, but our sous chefs making $40K a year, pulling 70-hour work weeks, similar with managers and line cooks, but busted his ass way harder, in my opinion. Cool. Also, hold on. Are we pretending that there was like some point in history where people were like proud to work like fast food jobs? Like I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of, would you call it transitory work, where people are like, they're doing like menial jobs. Was it the case that like they used to be super proud and honored to like work these like normal jobs? I don't know if that's the case. Maybe.
For 2 months. So go to watchepic.com/Southern and subscribe.
Also, I thought this was pronounced epoch.
watchepic.com/Southern. All right, let's get back to this question of loyalty. Why are Gen Z and millennials not loyal to their jobs? Well, let's cut right past the question of whether these companies deserve loyalty for the sake of argument. Let's assume that there really is something deeply special and world-changing about perfecting the 5-cheese marinara at Olive Garden. Even granting that, who is going to believe that Olive Garden is loyal to them? Hell, who is going to believe that Olive Garden even knows they exist as more than a line in their spreadsheet of workers? I said before that people should avoid being
Wait, what? I'm just catching up with the VOD and I saw Destiny mentioning Mother Mirtha's 14. She was on a dating Discord server a couple days back and I was sexting with her. Wee-oo. Uh-oh.
active liabilities to their jobs. Well, that goes both ways. Employers should also avoid being active liabilities to
We're
their
the pedo
employees.
hunters.
Yes, an employee should show up on time, but an employee also shouldn't have to beg on their hands and knees for a family emergency day off. A happy employee, a functional employee, is a better employee. And an employee who thinks you trust them as opposed to breathing down their neck constantly is a happier employee. How many episodes of Undercover Boss are there where the CEO pretends to be an employee only to turn around and fire the manager for being an overbearing, mistrustful, petty tyrant? There are too many, because the CEO knows this is how it works, even if their psycho manager trying to make people
Wait, what? Hold on.
How many episodes of Undercover Boss are there where the CEO pretends to be an employee
Is this what we're citing now?
only to turn around and fire the manager for being an overbearing, mistrustful, petty tyrant? There are too many, because the CEO knows this is how it works, even if their psycho manager trying to make people show up sick to a restaurant job doesn't. But you know what? That psychotically dedicated manager was actually motivated by one of the easiest ways to get people to show up and commit to your job: advancement, upward mobility. And in today's economy, very few people believe that's possible. We'll get into why later, but for now, just know that the incentive of a higher paying job feels either so out of reach to most young people or pointless to pursue.
Okay, well this has to do with specifically COVID stuff, right? This is like pretty specific to how people aged 16 to 25 feel about their job prospects post-COVID lockdown. Also, age 16 to 25? Okay, this has to be broken out into different age categories. 16 to 18 is I don't care what a 16-year-old thinks about their future job prospects. What? Same thing with like 18, 19, 20 if you're still in college. But that's an interesting cohort, but I feel like 20 to 25 would have been a bit better.
Because
or even like 22 to 25 or something, but.
The difference in pay just isn't enough to cover the cost of living. So let's say you're like most Gen Z and millennials and don't have a whole lot of faith in advancement. Well, what forms of meaning and loyalty can you get from work otherwise? Well, one is community. But in a modern workforce, does anyone really believe that's on offer? Are you really going to find your tribe in a chain restaurant or a bleak office cubicle farm of a multinational corporation? Maybe if your name is Dwight Schrute.
Blood alone moves the wheels of history!
But most people can smell these large corporations are soulless profit-making machines that contribute nothing of lasting value to their communities. The workers are never going to meet the men profiting from their labor. The large share of the profits are not going back into their direct community. And all of the management's targets are purely numerical, not human. Endless time is wasted doing pointless tasks just to tick boxes at these jobs. Check out Elon Musk's recent fires. As globalization and corporatism...
that whole like, I fired 50% of the workforce and nothing happened. Oh, kill me. Kill me, kill me.
Keeps on ramping up, these disconnected jobs are going to become even more common. And with rising inflation, much less appealing too, which makes it all the more essential to...
Can you elaborate on that? Apparently Elon fired like 50% of the Twitter workforce and people are like, oh my God, like look, like he fired them and Twitter didn't fall apart overnight. So like it must have been really good and most jobs are like worthless or something is essentially like the argument that conservatives wheel out.
Create community even in places where it's not the norm. Take a lesson from small businesses. People will fight tooth and nail to help stop their local mom and pop shop from going out of business, but no one is particularly invested in the success of megacorps, which seem less interested in serving a community's consumers.
I mean...
Than in megacorp going out of business, but no one is
some of the language here is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. I prefer to support small businesses when it is convenient to do so. I mean, I could say yes to that. That's an easy yes. But what does convenience mean here? Because price is a big convenient point for a lot of people. I actively look for ways to support small businesses even when it is less convenient. I do not mind paying more if I get great customer service from a small business. 70%, 77%, I just don't believe these numbers. I don't believe it. If this is the case, then why are big businesses anywhere? If 3/4 of Americans, is that who this is, or Canadians? If 3/4 of people are willing to go out of their way and pay more money to support small businesses, how do big businesses even exist? I don't believe it. Maybe, but I wonder who they're polling here.
Particularly invested in the success of megacorps, which seem less interested in serving a community's consumers than in consuming the community itself. And community, again, is about loyalty. I'm not just making all this up here, by the way. I am thinking specifically back to the times when I worked minimum wage jobs, when I worked in fast food. And hold up. Before I start complaining about my old workplaces, I am aware I live in the first world. I am aware people have it much, much worse in other places. And overall, I am blessed. But you know why a lot of developing countries have it worse? Horrendous behavior from governments and corporations, the likes of which we are seeing ramp up here in the West.
Questo si chiama franco CFA. È la moneta coloniale che la Francia stampa per 14 nazioni africane, alle quali applica il signoraggio e in forza delle quali sfrutta le risorse di questa nazione. Questo è un bambino che lavora in una miniera d'oro in Burkina Faso. Il Burkina Faso è una delle nazioni più povere del mondo. Per il Burkina Faso, che ha l'oro, la Francia stampa moneta coloniale. In cambio pretende che finiscano nelle casse del tesoro francese il 50% di tutto quello che il Burkina Faso esporta. L'oro che questo bambino si infila in un cunicolo per tirare fuori finisce per lo più nelle casse dello Stato francese. Allora la soluzione non è prendere gli africani e spostarli in Europa, la soluzione è liberare l'Africa da certi europei che la sfruttano e consentire a queste persone di vivere di quello che hanno.
So forgive me if I want to talk about it before it gets that bad here. But let's get into it. My first week was training week. So your shifts are like an hour and a half to 3 hours long each. The pay I was receiving barely covered my gas to get to work. Then they hit me with the double whammy where they said in order to work here, I have to purchase grease-resistant non-slip shoes. And to add insult to injury, I had to buy them from the company brand new for $90. So 3 shifts into my new job, and I not only had not made any money,
$90?
I had lost money. You can't advance by losing money unless you work in government. So there goes upward mobility, though they weren't kidding.
I feel like back in my day, the McDonald's shoes were like 30 or 40 bucks. Am I wrong? I could be wrong. I guess I'm a little older. Is inflation that big?
About the grease being a problem. It was disgusting. I had breakouts all over my skin from it. And as for community, maybe I could have found that if anyone spoke the same language, but this was at the start of the mass migration craze in Canada, which was supposed to be about diversity.
Okay.
On paper, but in reality was just about securing labor at cheaper prices than Canadians were willing to offer, and with no way to negotiate because of a language and power barrier. So I was one teenager in a crowd of 40, 50, 60-something people who were only working these jobs because their English skills were lacking, and no one cared to teach them because having slaves
Immigrant wage gap when English isn't spoken at home. Okay.
I'm sorry, employees who can talk back and advance in the West is bad for business. So there goes the loyalty that would come from community. Now, what about other forms of meaning? Was I somehow making the world a better place at this job? Well, I guess by contributing so much to obesity, I was helping to fight overpopulation and continuing to help the Canadian healthcare system get its kill-death ratio up, but that obviously wasn't much solace. All of which is to say, by the time I left that fast food job, I think I would have preferred cleaning out stables, literally shoveling shit, to spending another day getting barked at in the wrong language in grease that was eating away at my body for wages that didn't even exist for the first week. It wasn't even remotely worth it. At least the stable job would have made someone's life better, even if it was only a horse. And I didn't choose that example by accident. I chose it because I know what some members of the older generation would say to this, because I hear it every time my dad and I get in debates about this. God bless him, I love you, Dad, but you're wrong on this. He'll always tell me, Lauren, I hauled manure for $2 an hour when I was a teenager, and you didn't see me complaining. And you know what? Yeah. Hauling manure is more physically demanding than a fast food job. I've cleaned stables a few times myself in my life, but it is infinitely better for you psychologically. You're getting a workout, which fights depression. You're getting
I'm sorry. Based workout.
Sense of accomplishment from doing something hard. Hauling shit is literally an antidepressant by this metric, whereas the fast food job I mentioned earlier basically made me want to myself.
Jesus. Somebody joined and this thing just viewed at the same time. Hello? Oh, what's up?
That's a hard job.
Good one. True. What do you want?
I'm bored.
You're bored?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
And speaking of wanting to Canada myself, let's talk about the time I worked for government. Remember when I said you can't advance by losing money unless you work for the government? Well, that was too optimistic. It turns out government facilities have worker quotas, which means that they have to have certain numbers of workers around, regardless of whether they can actually use them, which means they have to invent jobs for people to do. Just one of the jobs that was invented for me to do was elevator assistant in a building with, drumroll, 3 floors. And throughout my 6-hour shift, I maybe had one person an hour use the elevator, and the elevator shut off after 5 minutes of no use. So I literally sat in a dark room doing nothing and making next to nothing for my employment. Again, less physically taxing than hauling manure, but less psychologically taxing? You try sitting in darkness for 6 hours because no one actually needs you around, and you know it, and you'll be begging to go back to the coal mines. But
here's something I'm curious about. This is gonna trigger the of some of you. Sorry if I come across as out of touch. I wonder if some of these menial labor jobs are more tolerable today for you guys because you have cell phones. Back in my day, I remember I could only load like 12 songs on my phone to last me through like a shift. If I had to do some boring work, but I could be scrolling like Reddit the whole time, I don't know. I wonder if that would be as bad. Because back in the day, when you were bored, oh my God, especially working graveyard shifts, you could talk to crazy drunk customers. Hopefully there's another employee or two, but they're all gonna be weird because there are no sane people working grave shift. Everybody sane is drafted to the day shift or maybe swing, so you're left with the weirdest employees, and god damn. I don't know, I kind of wonder sometimes if the phone thing makes it easier, but who knows.
But the coal mine is closed because of green policy, which means most young people only have the option of working jobs like this. Pointless, do nothing, build nothing, soul-crushing jobs that contribute nothing to your community at best and are actively harming it at worst. But you know what? Hell, maybe someone likes being the elevator goblin.
Back in the day, we had 100 radio stations, 100 times better than phones. Bro, radio stations play the same like 7 songs over and over again. Every time I go to Austin, I always I throw on the country music to traumatize Mel, and it's like there's literally like 15 songs that they play. I'll hear the same song like 6 times in like 2 hours of driving for the day. Like literally, it's insane.
And sitting in darkness for 6 hours. And we could bicker back and forth about which jobs are actually harder for days and days here. So let's talk about something that isn't subjective. The economic conditions young people face now as opposed to the ones older generations faced. Boomers and younger generations are not living in the same economy. In fact, since the 1960s, the contribution of the business sector to America's GDP has well over tripled. This has not necessarily benefited the little guy, though, as one of the largest shifts economically has been the growth of corporations with over $1 billion in revenue, without any growth in people's wages. In fact, any wage gains to be had are almost always going to the highest paid tier of workers. And this is the problem with going to the GDP to try—
Wait, real quick. What do you think is the most advantageous tier 3 research to do first? Now that I can finally do this. It's probably the biology shit, huh? Because I can upgrade all my character stats. Of all the left-wing positions for Lauren to pick up, why did it have to be this one? It's not left-wing positions, it's going to be populist positions. That's like little guy versus corporations is basically what everything has become online. Like us versus them, the people versus like big business and big government and et cetera, et cetera. I'd say do tier 3 and 4 in one go, starting with Stro. What the fuck is Stro? Oh, Astro? Astronomy? Do you think that are there really good researches in the tier 3 and 4 astronomy shit? Like, sell it to me. Why do I want spaceships? I don't even know what the fuck spaceships do. I haven't even built one yet. I don't know what any of this shit is. You need spaceships to do the tier 4 things. Okay, well. You think I should do tier 3 and 4 at the same time then? I'll do it, fuck it. All right.
Try to determine how well a country is going. There's a weird assumption that everyone is getting rich when the GDP is higher, when that is not necessarily the case. In fact, since the rise of globalization, the primary winners in this current economy are the middle class in Asia and the top 1% in America. Meanwhile, the Western world's lower middle class have been the biggest losers in this whole ordeal. While small businesses were getting decimated during COVID lockdown, 45 of the 50 biggest companies in America were able to turn
There should be half a spaceship in one of the
majority
astrozones? Do I need anything? What does it
did
do?
it by cutting regular citizen staff and giving the bulk of said profits to their shareholders.
What's up with the fuck small businesses sentiment in your community though? I mean, like small businesses can be cool for niche things, but big businesses have revolutionized our way of life, right? We're watching this video on YouTube via massive streaming platform, YouTube. Like some of you are watching me on cell phones created by Apple, which is I think the largest market cap in the world right now. A lot of you guys order stuff off of Amazon, which is one of the largest retailers. A lot of you guys, you guys don't even know about shipping. You guys don't know about shipping. Back when I was a kid, bro, back when I was a kid, there was a site called Newegg that people used to order on. You'd be like 2-week shipping on everything. You'd have to pay like $50 per thing shipped. It would all arrive at different times. That shit was, you guys have no idea, okay? You have no idea, okay? You can see ruins in orbit in the Universe Explorer. The ruins have a ship you can repair and use. Yeah, but what do I even want to use that ship for? Tiger Direct? Oh yeah. Fuck all that shit. In my opinion, do astronomy science last. The main thing spaceships get you are interstellar travel for Nikki, which is blah, blah, blah. But you're better off on biomech energy. Oh, Proteus says bio. The other guy knows a lot, though, Proteus. I really want to do the biology one. I'm just going to do the biology one. Fuck it. Can I do tier 4 biology without spaceships? That's the question. If I recall, yes. Okay, yeah, fuck it then. Here we go.
What does this do to people's sense of loyalty? People know that these companies they work for not only are not loyal to them, but aren't even loyal to the country, which is demoralizing and makes people want to pick up pitchforks no matter what libertarians say, who, for some reason, seemingly always want to defend a crony system of corporations getting repeatedly bailed out using our tax dollars. But anyways, if you're a young person today and want to escape the rungs of lower class society, you work these jobs because you have no choice. Because the only other option is taking out even more extortionate loans for an education that you are probably failing because you barely have time to study or do homework when all of your off-campus time is being used sitting in a dark elevator or flipping burgers getting paid next to nothing. All this effort, of course, put in just to discover when you finally graduate with your 4-year degree, you'll only be paid around $50,000 annually on average in Canada and the US. And oh, all those jobs are in cities with sky-high rents, meaning
all those jobs are not in cities. That is absolutely not true. And coming out of college and getting 50, 60,000 a year job is not that bad, especially to start your career as a young person who's 22 years old, especially if you're not a dumb fuck and you get like, you go to like a good state school. You don't have to get like a private education, 20,000 a year debt for like a random like engineering degree.
You'll probably never own a home.
Quick pause. I know you're probably screaming at your screen right now saying, Lauren, what about the trades? I had to add this part after because it is a huge conversation. Yes, trades are an incredible career path for young people, but they are not the end-all be-all solution to our economic and employment woes. They're like the Shire of employment. And Mordor is the government expanding terrible policies. Conservatives say retreat to the trades, as if the other 80% of the economy doesn't need to be addressed, and as if the trades aren't already being plagued by the same bad policy making impacting every other job. Every tradie I talk to says government red tape is constantly impacting their employment and expansion of their trade, and the potential for more wealth among younger generations. Green energy policy as well is shutting down plenty of trade work and high-paying labor jobs. Not to mention, those incredible 6-figure salaries for large machinery operation and the like are not necessarily every person in a trade. The average plumber or electrician is typically making the same amount as the struggling bachelor degree holder.
First of all, you shouldn't be struggling with the average bachelor degree. Okay, also, real quick, just so you guys know this, okay? You always hear people say this dumb shit. Oh, I know a plumber. Plumbers make like 6 figures. Oh, electricians make like 6 figures. Oh, carpenters, these people make 6 figures. Okay, that is a lie. What the people that are making big bucks as plumbers, okay, are small business owners that have other plumbers. For some reason, they never seem to differentiate between this. They'll say some shit like, oh yeah, like, oh no, you can make like so much money as a plumber. Like, yeah, I make like 6 figures. Like, it's like me and like 5 other guys that I like manage or whatever. It's like, okay, bro, you're not a plumber. You're a small business owner, motherfucker. Okay, there's a huge difference. Fuck you.
Today. Hence why just earlier this year, carpenters were on strike in Ontario because their wages simply were not scaling with inflation. And the Carpenters District Council stated their members were having trouble paying for housing, groceries, fuel, and simply putting food on the table. And must I mention the truckers here in Canada and what was done to them? Well, I would absolutely recommend getting a trade over a degree any day. Many jobs, even those in the trades, have been severely impacted by political meddling, inflation, and our cost of living crisis. And telling everyone to retreat into 20% of jobs in our economy does not really solve the overall problem we're in.
This simply was not what the boomers had. According to one report, millennials are earning 20% less than the baby boomers at the same stage of life.
The generational wealth gap has reached historic proportions. Kramer says the average millennial's wealth in 2016, ages 23 to 38, was 41% less than those who were at a similar age in 1989, the report says. It's also true among young families. Households headed by someone under 35 in 2016, an average net worth of $10,900, which is $8,000 less than it was in 1995. I wonder if it's because we front load debt now more often than probably boomers did, because we kind of have to go to school to be competitive.
And hold a lot fewer assets. Simultaneously, the cost of living is skyrocketing, only compounding this problem. This is despite the fact that a far greater percentage of millennials have gone to university.
Read my fucking response, you coward. Destiny, do you think these revolutionary conveniences are making us happier than we were before? Like shit, I feel like you can live a great life without YouTube, Apple, fast shipping, etc. If these conveniences actually come at a cost of fulfillment, then I'd rather live in an ass-backward society. And yet here you are, screaming at me to read your comment in my DGG chat.
With it being almost a necessity to get an average-paying job these days. As a result, even more of them are burdened with the costs of higher education than ever before. And for those of you in older generations that may ask, well, why couldn't they just work harder throughout college to pay for it? You know, not worry about this debt later. Well, according to my calculations, me being Forbes, for someone going to college in America in 1989, you would need to work full-time on minimum wage for 12 weeks in the summer and then work 23 hours a week the rest of the year while going to school, around 1,400 hours total. This would just about cover tuition, other fees, and rent on campus. If you try and do that now, the same math works out to around 2,500 hours needed, the equivalent of a whole full-time job and another part-time job, all while juggling college work. It simply can't be done. So millennials are now stuck in whole full-time job.
This can't be the average state, average cost of tuition, state school, in-state education. What do you think is like the average of all the states? Oh, this is if you do room and board. Is there an advantage to doing room and board on a college campus? It seems like such a waste of fucking money. Holy shit. Depends on if you're helping with research.
1,500 hours total. If you try
fucking
and
mad
do that
pussy.
now,
True.
a whole full-time job and another part-time job, all while juggling college work. It simply can't be done. So millennials are now stuck, and Gen Z, I suppose, in one of the most depressing economic situations we have seen in a long while, and are offered going into more debt as their only escape from the lower rungs of society. Is it really a coincidence young people are the most depressed they've ever been? And Gen Z, quite frankly, is going to have it worse than anyone. According to a study this year from Consumer Affairs, today's teens and early 20s adults have 86% less purchasing power than boomers did at their age. That is absolutely insane. It is no wonder quiet quitting is the hottest new trend, and kids would opt for digital achievements over real ones. Their Fortnite bucks may truly be a better investment. The government are making our money worthless, and so young people are taking on the old Soviet mantra of, they pretend to pay us, so we pretend to work. If you lived in arguably the greatest time of prosperity in history, where a good, secure life was not exactly guaranteed, but not completely out of reach, I can see how you could push yourself through life and pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? I've joked many times now that boomers before had it easy. Hell, I've even written a book pointing the finger at them for the breakdown of civilization. But let's be fair. Boomers didn't have it easy. They just had a different set of problems than we have now. It was a struggle. You couldn't just laze about and have everything handed to you on a platter, though the hippies certainly tried and somehow still ended up owning houses, boats, and companies. But let's be fair, most of them probably came for money to begin with. But since I've brought up hippies, let's chat about them, because you know what's funny? The silent generation actually wrote a ton of articles and studies about how boomers were the laziest, most entitled, consumeristic generation in history. And if you hear that and go, well, of course, it's the boomers, then let me quote to you from Socrates, of all people. The children now love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority. They show disrespect for elders and love chatter in place of exercise. Children are now tyrants, not the servants of their households. They no longer rise when elders enter the room.
Damn, disrespect.
In other words, every older generation feels this way about younger generations. A meta-analysis of over 70 separate studies have shown that there really is not a generational work ethic difference. It's an age work ethic difference. The youngest generation are consistently the least dedicated to the system. Only today, Zoomers and Millennials may actually have a better reason for their lack of dedication. Those reasons being a feeling of total unattainability of any sort of stability, no matter how much they invest in their work. Another myth we often hear is that millennials and Gen Z are the most privileged generation in history because they have so many things. You have heated seats, Netflix, instant Chinese junk from Amazon, anytime you want it. But let's get real here for a minute. As mentioned earlier, the younger generations are the most depressed generations. Why? Because obviously material consumerism does not bring happiness. Family, stability, and purpose do. Those truly meaningful things feel like a mirage to young people. So stating that an iPhone is such an amazing privilege and an asset that young people have is absurd. Even refugees and migrants coming on boats to Europe tend to all have iPhones. It is perhaps one of the quickest depreciating assets on the planet. And not only is it essentially valueless over time, every study published on tech has shown it is a complete liability to one's mental health. So the problem here isn't one of whether the youth are spoiled with cheap plastic knickknacks. It's the fact that they aren't able to attain the assets one needs to build a successful future. If you're a boomer who's watching this and ever thought to yourself, those damn lazy kids, just know that so many are still trying, punching in their clock to scrape by. As mentioned earlier, there really isn't a difference in work ethic generationally. The real difference I've observed is the hope factor. I think it may be hard for some people who grew up when the West seemed like all it could do was go up, when the end of history was proclaimed, to even begin to conceptualize that things got worse. But they did. And what we need right now is understanding between the generations as to why this all went wrong. It's not the fault of all boomers. Many warned of what would come and fought for sanity. Others, I'm sure, deeply regret the path our civilization was set on, even if they did vote for the very governments that led us astray. Let he who has not regretted voting for a professional liar cast the first stone and all that. So I think it's time for me to call a truce, at least with the boomers who are not currently in government. We all love our parents, we all love our grandparents, and I know if you are a grandparent or a parent watching this, you love your kids and grandchildren. You know they want to succeed. You know they want to make something of their lives in this world. So please, for their sake and yours, let's recognize Gen Z and millennials are not the laziest, most entitled generations in history. In fact, they're not much different from the generations that came before. They're young people following the flow of culture, trying to be loved, keep up with the trends and what adults tell them, but none of it seems to be going anywhere for them. They're not lazy, they're hopeless. And the best way to even start to help them is to recognize the position they are in, to recognize the lack of meaning in an ever-growing corporate and government takeover, the lack of opportunity as the dream of starting a business, owning assets and property swiftly disappears like a mirage in the distance while our corporate and political class prosper. We need to unite together against the real enemy here. So here's the bottom line, literally, since that's all some people seem to care about in this debate. You can have upward mobility, or you can have DEI, ESG, and all the other artificial forms of meaning. You can have corporations that work for the people.
Jesus. We do have a big problem with like meaning and shit in life. That is a huge problem. I don't know where we find that again. Probably seems like a lot of it used to come from religion, but it's kind of hard to be religious these days. So we have to find a different way to do it.
Why, Stephen? Why is it hard to be religious?
Why? I don't know. Probably because we're too educated. That shit gets hard to believe in over time because it requires like a pretty big suspension of everything in order.